Share this shit.
What?
Okay, cool. It works. There's something really goofy I want to go over. All right, there we go. Now everybody should be caught up.
Confirmed mystery, so it's not completely clear whether or not it's a real piece of lost media. But if it is real, then it definitely would be considered very rare. It's so rare that only a few claims have even made mention of its existence. But I believe it's a search worth following for the fact that we'd like a solid answer on its status. The thread is titled Lost SpongeBob Closing Logo and discusses an alternate version of the United Plankton Pictures logo seen at the end of SpongeBob. But before we get any further, for those unaware, if you've never heard of the term closing logo before, these are the short ending cards seen at the conclusion of the credits in an episode or show. One of the more
I gotta go to the part where I woke up one morning and I had YouTube playing on my TV, and I was like, "What the fuck is this?" I gotta find it. I gotta fucking find it. Was this it?
SpongeBob does exist. And no, not in some fan-related way that is not directly connected to the show, but rather in an official capacity, by the people that had a hand in making the cartoon while they were within the walls of Nickelodeon, that as far as I'm aware, nobody outside of production has ever seen or documented. However, our story does not begin at Nickelodeon where you might expect, and not with some kind of secret lead or connection, but rather, it begins with an interview conducted by a cartoon magazine called Hogan's Alley, discussing the oral history of SpongeBob SquarePants from over a decade after the show first began. It's a very extensive interview that features many different aspects of the show from many different points of view, told by the people who helped create it. In a segment headlined, "We all loved what we were making," this is even more apparent, as the crew recollect the joy it was in being part of SpongeBob's world, despite their low wages and non-stop work schedule at the time. And it's in this fact that you could maybe say they had a little too much fun, and this is where the holy grail of SpongeBob Lost Media is mentioned for the very of their younger days hanging around the old Nickelodeon Studios building, and through a series of bizarre events, as they called it, were given a gift that almost no one in the world has ever seen. This was a copy of Behind Closed Doors. Admittedly, I had not heard about this topic or the article in question until receiving the email from the source, and apparently the source had forgotten about the topic too, mentioning they let the collection gather dust in their attic for more than a decade, until having come across that article recently and dug it out as a response. But what that Hogan magazine article failed to disclose is what exactly the content was contained within the book, aside from being hilarious and crude. And then, I was sent the first photo of the book as proof that it was real, which gave me a really good idea of what hilarious and crude really meant. The shortened title of the book is Behind Closed Doors, as stated in the interview, but its full title is called Behind Closed Doors: Horrible, Filthy, Vile, Disgusting, Inappropriate, Off-Model Drawings by the crew of a popular cartoon show. This is the cover of the book, and along with the text on it, we are greeted by artwork of SpongeBob, Patrick, and Mr. Krabs engaged in some group activity, followed by a spread of artwork behind it, consisting of 28 pages and hundreds of drawings by my source's estimate. And if you look closely at these pages, you can make out what some of the characters and scenarios are, most of which are too graphic for this video. While this is very shocking to see right off the bat, what's truly important to note within these materials is the anagram of Kent Osborne appearing in the book, just as
It said made by a popular cartoon. The cast of a popular cartoon. Who the fuck was that cartoon? Who made this? I gotta go back a little bit.
by the crew of a popular cartoon show.
By the crew of a popular cartoon show. I genuinely want to know which crew made this. Like, what, behind which show. Like, this is some good stuff. I'd watch more.
Show. This is the cover of the book, and along with the text on it, we are greeted by artwork of SpongeBob, Patrick, and Mr. Krabs engaged in some group activity, followed by a spread of artwork behind it, consisting of 28 pages and hundreds of drawings by my source's estimate. And if you look closely at these pages, you can make out what some of the characters and scenarios are, most of which are too graphic for this video. While this is very shocking to see right off the bat, what's truly important to note within these materials is the anagram of Kent Osborne appearing in the book, just as it's stated in the Hogan's Alley article, proving that these materials are the real deal, and this is only a small portion of the book's content. While I was not sent over the entire collection, and I don't know what they plan on doing with the full collection, what was unearthed to me is still mind-blowing when you consider the characters and how they're depicted here. None of these drawings can be shown uncensored on YouTube, but even with their censorship, it's still pretty easy to tell what's going on. So we'll take a closer look at each of them.
What?
One of the most common themes depicted in these pieces is simply drawing characters with realistic body parts that are never seen in the show, with a couple of the more harmless ones simply being SpongeBob grabbing himself in a shocking sort of way, as seen on the back cover. It features 3 different poses of him stretching himself.
Hold on.
It features
What the fuck is this, dude? Is there a way I can get this off now? Okay, I just want to say that's either piss or that's jizz or a little bit of a combination of both. But either way, SpongeBob looks really fucking scared. It could be Diddy-ool.
There's 3 different poses of him stretching himself, followed by the depiction of Squidward with SpongeBob
The detail to that face.
nude on a different page. SpongeBob has a somewhat realistic looking face and is sort of curled up on the ground, while Squidward is standing and sports an entire head that was changed to what's supposed to be on his groin, but instead there's nothing else there in the picture.
Just
Then,
a fourth
there are
leg.
a couple other images that push this adult boundary even further. One that even includes text and descriptions of the characters that look much closer to how they appear in the cartoon. Squidward is seen asking nude SpongeBob, "How do you make it sing like that?"
Let me
and
touch
points
it.
to his private parts.
Flick it
To
a
which
little bit.
SpongeBob responds, "It only sings around you, Squidward." The other drawing that pushes boundaries is the most interesting one of the set so far, and uses a storyboard sheet for the SpongeBob Got Milk print ad. This was an ad campaign that promoted drinking milk and was referenced heavily in the lost media search that occurred in trying to find a copy of the animated commercial.
So
While
was
there
this
is
a
no
real
adult
SpongeBob
animated
clip
commercial, it certainly
Like from a
exists as
commercial
this drawing,
from back
which
then?
turns the scene from
I've never seen
SpongeBob
it
drinking
before.
milk, getting a milk mustache, and having it be absorbed, into Patrick spraying SpongeBob inappropriately, it falling on his lips, and then getting absorbed like the milk in the real ad. Next are perhaps the 2 most
Yo.
explicit of all,
Yo, what
with the first one showing a freaked out SpongeBob on the ground with Mr. Krabs, performing what could be considered a favor for him,
Bro.
and the second one seemingly being a parody scene of an actual episode from the show.
William.
This is supposed to be from Squilliam Returns, for the fact that there's text stating, "SpongeBob makes a pinching motion," and "If you need anything else, just call,"
That's
taken
creepy
from
as
the
fuck.
episode. Squidward appears to be dressed in his formal wear, but SpongeBob is seen completely naked, and is taking aim at Squidward's behind.
He definitely
And
is.
finally, is sort of an outlier when it comes to content shown. It's a page that features Mr. Krabs
Alright, I gotta be able to picture this one out for a second. That's Mr. Krabs. Then that's Mr. Krabs behind him. So there's 2 Mr. Krabs. What looks like him shitting on the toilet. And I guess the other Mr. Krabs is behind him. Or no, that's a cutout. Either way, it looks like a fucking mess. And now for the chaser.
using the bathroom in an over-exaggerated way, with text at the bottom that reads, "And now for the chaser," which is a line spoken in the final episode of Plankton's Army. My source informs me that this storyboard was actually submitted for animation, likely as a joke, and was rejected. But the line itself was left in the episode, and was allegedly a reference to this art. Interestingly, It appears as though this page was copied on official storyboard paper, but was not drawn directly on it, unlike some of the other pieces from this collection. Curious about the various quality and condition of each page,
hold on.
I asked if
Patrick has a teddy bear dick. There's Mr. Krabs' first dollar. No, nothing involving the fucking children from the side characters. And then we got Patrick over here. Looks like he was jizzed to his death. Then we got Squidward over here. If we could just remove this little black blob right here, we can probably see him doing like a little helicopter.
these pieces were copied from a real book, or if every book only existed as photocopies, but they didn't know. They mentioned that their copy was made from one that was held together in a spiral notebook, and was one of the originals, rather than being a third, fourth, or fifth printing. I did notice the back page says it's the second printing, so if all these pages came from the same run, then it would seem likely. Though it's also unclear how many copies exist in the first place. However, even for how inappropriate or offensive these drawings might seem on the surface, there is something else that should be considered when looking at them all these years later. It's no secret that Nickelodeon has been the subject of a lot of workplace controversies over the years, with John Kay and Dan Schneider being the poster boys for that kind of behavior. But that's not to say these were the only examples of the dark work culture that surrounded the Nickelodeon crew members at the time. It's reasonable to conclude that these drawings were simply a cathartic response to that kind of work environment. For example, the picture of SpongeBob and Mr. Krabs could be considered a response to the rumors of performing sexual acts for advancement in the company, and SpongeBob saying to Squidward it only sings around you could be addressing the rumors that SpongeBob was gay.
Now, someone really had to make a whole ass article about this. Man, I'm pretty sure me and everyone else who grew up in my generation, watching SpongeBob, I think we were able to tell that he was fucking gay. There's just too many gay things to recount.
A huge baseless controversy that the crew of the show had gone on record responding to many times. Kaz Propylenis, a cartoonist on the show, also stated in the Hogan's Alley interview that some board guys would actually lock their doors as the tours came around. It was better that the kids not step into some offices, as they were decorated with post-it drawings of the SpongeBob characters, cavorting in the most disgusting, depraved, sexual scenarios that only the sick minds of jaded cartoonists could vomit up, further adding evidence to the idea of the awful work culture of Nickelodeon Studios at the time, and how it affected the
because it was ran by Dan Snyder.
People working on these cartoons. But as someone who wasn't there myself, this is only my conclusion, and though my source was there during some of these controversial times, they only heard stories secondhand. However, it's up to you to draw your own conclusions about the intention or messages behind these drawings. Kent Osborne described them as hilarious and crude in that interview from 11 years ago, and my source also believes the drawings are mostly in good fun, that they illustrate the brilliance of the team who was at the top of their game at the time, just not in a way intended for the show's main audience. However, that's not to say the source does feel that some of the drawings cross the line in a way that feels uncomfortable, especially in some of the other content from the collection. There is no way to know which pieces were drawn by which artists, as nearly a dozen of them contributed to it, but I was informed that one of the drawings depicts 1940s war imagery that uses company logos, and another that shows actual harm to characters, that goes way
most likely something to do with the swastika and having the company like logo replace the swastika. I don't know. That's what I'm guessing.
Way beyond the simple gross out factor. I was also informed by my source that their book, despite all its content, is likely not a complete version of all the drawings that were made for it. Specifically, they mentioned having requested certain pages be left out for its distasteful content, but it's also believed that the person who made my source's copy intentionally left some content out due to how objectionable it was. Unfortunately, the creation of each copy remains unclear, and there is no way to verify exactly how much content was in the original master, or was put into each copy that was made. In fact, my source's copy was given to them under the impression that it was one of the only ones that existed and was going to be disposed of, apparently to get rid of it before the new management came in at the time. We know from the Hogan's Alley interview, however, that many copies were made, leading to the belief that all existing copies were made from an original source book, and that book was kept locked in a desk and contained some of the original art, as my source could verify. But even with this knowledge and possibility of more being out there, there's no way to tell if the other copies are still in existence, or would ever even be released by their owners. This one could be the only one that was archived,
The best
and I'm
legal
thankful we were
weed
able to
pens
even
you
see
could
a
ever
small
get.
portion of its content that otherwise would have continued to be forgotten about. They also heard rumors from back then about other Nickelodeon shows having similar behind closed doors books, but there's no evidence to suggest that's true, and could have been misinformation that was
So just seeing that a minute ago, Cat Dog.
books, but there's no evidence to suggest that's true.
Right there. So if they made a behind closed doors about Cat Dog, I wonder what they would draw, because there's no sexual image that could be made out of these two. It's a cat on one side and it's a fucking dog. Do you think when the dog or the cat eats something, the shit goes out of the other end? Like, does it come out of one of their mouths? That must be a fucking nightmare, dude. Better yet, what if one of them wants to stay sober, one of them wants to get high, and then one of them ends up actually doing a shit ton of like PCP or something? What's the other one gonna go through? Is he gonna tweak with him, or is he gonna like trips in him? Let me shut the fuck up.
And could have been misinformation that was passed around over the years, as this project seems to have not been spoken of. In my opinion, the takeaway from Behind Closed Doors is not the fact that it simply exists for shock value, but the fact that it exists as a remnant of a studio that has been plagued with controversy even in the best of content that's been produced for us. The source even mentioned that after having visited the studio, in the years following the creation of these drawings, the atmosphere surrounding them had changed to fit more of a PTSD and war story way. So it seems like there's a reason for why these drawings exist and were made in the first place, which are important to understand and think about, even though they are without a doubt unbelievable to see. It's such a huge piece of lost media that, given this age of archival, is an important piece to have, and acts as a way to look back on an older iteration of the brand that hopefully doesn't exist anymore. Without a doubt, becoming one of the most legendary pieces of lost media I've ever seen. It feels like it shouldn't exist at all, yet it does, and feeds into that fascination of seeing SpongeBob in more adult ways. And now we actually have that drawn by the real artists, real people, on some official storyboard paper, used in the creation of one of the most popular cartoons of all time. Behind Closed Doors represents much more than the artwork itself.
I wonder how much time they spent making this too. Like I don't think it had to be done in one day if it was so much drawing. Like here and there, it had to be people fucking off on like break time, or like if they don't have any supervisors watching them, then they decide to like fuck around on the job a little bit. But I seriously doubt this would take a day to finish.
for both lost
be
media
wrong.
preservation and animation history. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to check out some of my other lost media videos.
Lost media from what was that show called? Back at the Barnyard. I missed that show. You guys ever watched your boy Squidster? I think this channel is really good. Quality content, YTPs. I've already watched all of them, so they're kind of old to me. But I think I should share this with the world. It's my calling to do this. You guys need to see this.
And, of course,
This one.
Peter is known throughout the organization for being a piece of shit. He takes the issue of cyber sex seriously in order to jack off. When he leaves his desk, he always says, just grabbing a cock. And, of course, he never shuts up on social media. This made it unsurprising that Peter's laptop was Peter's laptop. Unfortunately, Peter exposed his cock to the organization for that death.
Holy shit!
Wow, Peter, that was a criminal offense. This incident taught him that he had to consider leaving that country or face criminal
Jeffrey
prosecution.
Epstein.
Boy, I wonder what's going to happen next.
Father, what are you watching?
Oh, Zelda, I'm just channel surfing.
Okay, have fun. Love you.
Y'all ready to order?
DirecTV. For the best
Me out.
Get
Cats. Y'all ready to order? The amazing picture clarity of HD TV broadcast in 10G HD direct. I totally don't know what that means. I totally don't want it.
Get DirecTV.
know what
Get DirecTV. DirecTV. Direct ins.
Imagine a rock-solid cock. This could be your rock-solid retirement. This could be your rock-solid corn coffee. Your rock-solid redeemer. Let Prudential break your
PC. Whoa, what happened to you, PC? Fuck you.
Fuck this bullshit. I hate commercials.
Is that Morshu? Yeah.
Just give me that country.
This was really how the inauguration went.
Just give me that passion. Freedom is the life for me. Freedom is the life for me.
Today I will mortgage Istanbul. Now my greatest secret, my dick. Rewarding, very rewarding.
Now back to the
While on his trip, Peter used an unsecured Wi-Fi network to gain access to the deaf people's passwords and steal valuable cash from their social security. Peter took advantage of the deaf and he became a cyber criminal.
He became Elon Musk.
This is different. They've crossed the line.
You crossed the line first, sir. You squeezed them, you hammered them to the point of desperation. And in that desperation, they turned to a man they didn't fully understand.
Ah, yes! I was wondering what would break first. Your spirit?
This kind of reminds me of how the fighting scene from Smiling Friends where Dr. Evil... What the fuck was that dude's name? Dr. Evil. Going by the name of Daniel. They used a Snapchat filter to animate the fighting scene, and I thought it was like the funniest shit. The most genius shit that anyone could do, really, when it comes to like modern cartoon making.
Oh, your buddy!
Morty, we gotta stop this sicko, Morty. He's some guy named Peter. He's a pervert, Morty. Not even Batman can stop him, so it's up to us.
Oh, Rick, how are we gonna stop him, man? Like, what do you think we can do that Batman couldn't? I mean, it's like, we're just two guys, and Batman is a billionaire.
Morty, shut the fuck up. You think I can't be a better Batman? I'm way more capable than some orphan-turned-edgelord, Morty. This'll be a piece of cake.
Oh, if you say so, man.
I know so, Morty. Oh, now get in the fucking portal. Oh, speaking of Batman, Morty, remember the Joker movie? Do you remember how every media outlet was stroking it to the idea that it would embolden right-wing lunatics? And then remember how nothing fucking happened? It's almost like, I don't know, maybe the media doesn't have the public's best interest in mind, Morty. They just want to scare you into compliance or something. Anyway, Morty, let me tell you about my dildo collection.
Rick? Fuck you. Fuck you, Rick. Rick! No! Bye, Morty. Yeah. They got RFK Jr., Trump, Bill Clinton, Epstein, Hillary Clinton. I don't know who the rest of these bung fucks are.
What a piece of shit.
Hey, King, what are you up to?
My boy, this this awful, truly disgusting.
Huh?
Yeah, boy, Squeedster. This not a true warrior. He, this evil, help me shove the Triforce of Courage up his ass.
Gee, I just think he wants a kiss.
This is worse than AIDS. I'm going to dislike and report, then link this to Ganon. No! It burns!
Wow, it sure is boring.
See? How can we force him to scrub all the floors in Hyrule?
It's easy. See?
That's not right. Get it?
More Epstein.
What do you like better? The coral bits or the barnacle rings or the nacho kelp bits or the coral barnacle skins or the nacho rings? Are they any good? Barnacle rings or the nacho kelp bits or the coral barnacle skins or the nacho rings. Are they any good? But how about the coral nacho kelp skins or the barnacle or the